Welcome to my video. Today I'm going to be discussing the way that airplanes sound in media, specifically the way they sound almost every time that they are shown going into a dive. This is most often when the plot calls for the airplane to be crashing. I'm going to show you a short clip of what I'm talking about. This clip is from the James Bond film GoldenEye that came out in 1995. Okay, so there's a lot going on here, but we're listening for a rather particular sound that plays alongside the airplane's engine noise. You'll notice the low droning noise that starts right about the time Bond enters the cockpit. Now, there is a lot that is inaccurate or downright physically impossible that goes on in the older James Bond flicks, especially the Roger Moore and Pierce Brosnan eras. In this example, outdiving an airplane while in a free fall is downright physically impossible, but that is a topic for an entirely different video. Next, I'm going to show you a clip from a more recent movie, a modern take of The Mummy that came out in 2017, starring everyone's favorite Tom Cruise. This is a chaotic scene, but pay close attention to the sounds on the outside the airplane is shown. In this scene, it's a lot more subtle, but hopefully from watching the previous clip, you know what to listen to. Did you hear it? Throughout the entire scene, there's a very high-pitched whistling, but at this specific moment after the engine has blown off, you can hear it very clearly. Right there. That's the sound we're listening for. This sound we've heard in these two short clips is not a sound that an airplane just naturally produces, either due to some weird aerodynamic effect or even some other funky physics. This sound we're hearing was only ever heard from a specific airplane from a rather conflicted time period. The Ju-87 Stuka, a German dive bomber used during World War II. Now, it wasn't the Stuka itself that made the iconic sound. The noise originates from a device that was attached to the Stuka. The devices that produced the iconic sound were called Jericho trumpets by the German airmen, the name taken from the biblical story of the walls of Jericho and the trumpets that were sounded when the walls fell. The Jericho trumpet was a propeller-driven siren with a diameter of 2.3 feet and were mounted on the wing's leading edge or on the front edge of the airplane's fixed main landing gear. During normal flights, the siren didn't work because the airplane's top speed of 242 miles per hour wasn't enough to start moving the siren's propellers. It wasn't until the bomber was in a dive and its airspeed had increased to speeds upwards of 300 miles per hour did the sirens begin to produce the iconic noise. This explains why the noise is only seen alongside diving aircraft. Well, now we know what the sound is and where it comes from, but what does the original Jericho trumpet sound like? This stock World War II footage of the Stuka in action will have our answer. That is a pretty terrifying sound, am I right? So why did the Germans put these sirens on their airplanes? One word, psychological warfare. Or actually two words. The sound was meant to be memorable, weaken the morale of the enemy, and cause mass fear of the German dive bomber. The sound of the Stuka's Jericho trumpets was so effective, it became associated with the fast Nazi blitzkrieg, or lightning war. The sirens were feared the world over, even in America before they entered the war, where newsreels entranced the public audience. It's unclear where the idea to attach these devices to the Stuka originated. Some say it was Adolf Hitler, but most sources say the intimidation tactic was the idea of Ernst Udet. Ernst Udet was a flying ace and innovator who was in charge of the German Luftwaffe Research and Development Office. The 2018 film Dunkirk has some great scenes that accurately portray what it would have been like to the soldiers who faced the Stuka and the effect the Jericho trumpets had on them. Let's watch one now. I went ahead and took the liberty to stop the scene before the bombs hit, as this is an academic project. Either way, I think the scene still accurately portrays the absolute terror the siren could produce. I mean, can you even imagine the psychological effects of experiencing that firsthand? I know I don't want to. So why does Hollywood include this sound in their movies and TV shows? I can think of 3 reasons. Drama, suspense, tension. The audience instantly know the repercussions that follow when they hear this sound. The aircraft has gone into an unrecoverable dive and will soon crash. From this sound's inclusion, the audience receives a heightened sense of stress and worry for what's going to happen as the scene progresses. Let's rewatch the mummy scene in its entirety, and you should be able to understand the effect I'm talking about here.
This is November 4-0-9er. United States C-130 Hercules. What's happening?
Take a seat and strap in.
England.
Ma'am, I don't know what's happening. Take a seat.
We lost thrust in both engines. No radar contact. Dropping to 12,000. 280 on the heading.
What the hell is that? You can do this! You can do this! Give me your hand! Give me your hand!
Throughout the scene, the audio and ambient sounds directly affect the tension and the buildup or suspense of what's going to happen to our heroes. Hollywood knows exactly what they're doing, especially because they know the average moviegoer isn't going to notice or really mind the inaccurate inclusion of the Jericho trumpet siren. I'd like to end this video with a clip of one of my favorite airshow era performance teams, the Honda Aeroshell team, as an example of what an airplane actually sounds like while in a dive. You'll hear the pilots control the engine's throttle as the engine's quiet near the peak of their loop, but then the engines will roar with power as the pilots increase the throttle. Nowhere do we hear that iconic low-pitched droning siren. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something both new and fun today. Bye!